In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. So, hello everyone, welcome to another lecture. I wanted to talk about something strange, but fascinating at the same time. And I wanted to talk about the secret lives of the world. And I don't know how many people have even noticed this to even wonder how to talk about it to others. But I have noticed what I would consider the atmosphere of a secret life, right? I have seen that there's, think of it this way, the whole world is living a life that you don't know. You only know your life, right? So the secret is all about like what truth is there that we don't know yet, right? In a world where secrets exist, man is unknown. He is not known. For me, I want to give a lecture on the secret life of the world, and this lecture, more than you thinking it's like me giving something to you, I am trying to tell you to look at the world differently, like in a different way, and you will be fascinated what the world is. And what really human life is an effort to find the original earth. That means we human beings are born, yes, we exist, but what are we doing in existence? And what are 8 billion human beings doing in existence? And we're like, all right, they're being intelligent. What does intelligence mean? That means it's part of the human conditioning. You are walking in a world where many different beings are living simultaneously. The earth is like this giant sphere housing species of endless kinds. The movie Matrix made it seem like a simulation has to be like how that movie was, like it's a different world, but no, there can be simulations inside simulations. It is the mystery of reality and the foundational curiosity to wonder about what is going on here. Ladies and gentlemen, I have never felt like a teacher when I give these lectures. In these lectures, I have felt like a sort of alerted, alarmed a soldier of humanity. Okay, and what I mean by that is, for me, there is a game that's being played here. We are like part of the game. There's so many other elements to the game, but we, our species, has to play it. So think about you not just having the responsibility of figuring out what you're going to do with your lifetime. We have to wonder about the lifetime of the species, and this is where it gets fascinating, because what the species is as mysterious as what its creator is. And so you are not finding yourself in such a privileged world where it's a snapshot photo of comfort, you know? Whenever reality loops too much, kind of freak out a little. I think that's healthy. Anyways, because, you know, what starts off as discipline can end up becoming just a sort of, it's like endless mode. We human beings are very specific creatures. If I, like, let's say I've at least there's this, okay, so in strategy we have somebody named Sun Tzu. Okay, Sun Tzu, it's not like my buddy. I'm like, yo guys, it's Tzu again. No, You know, Sun Tzu was a general in China who wrote The Art of War, which all militaries started like learning from, right, and were inspired by. And he has this quote where it's strange. He says, if you know yourself and if you know the enemy, you will win 1,000 battles. Like that means you will become an undefeatable being in reality. If you have the capacity to know yourself, which is the like main force, and then the opposing forces to your reality. Do you know? There's moments where I'm like, man, I could be angry at people in this realm. I could even think I have enemies and be angry at them. Do you know? But at the same time, I can't be angrier than at some point life stops existing. Folks, you are in existence as if you're in a space, right? It's like, yo, man, are we human or has something entered a human room? Do you understand? The secret lives of the world is pretty much how I've realized something that everybody on the planet is acting like is not there. Do you understand? Like, have you heard of the concept of ignorance? Okay, someone like being ignorant of something. I want you to imagine there's a person, and we look at that person, we're like, that person's ignorant. Now imagine it's 8 billion, okay? And now imagine it's a species. And now I want you to just imagine that if you have the capacity as a self, right, to be ignorant, then most likely a species, which is the collective psyche of 8 billion selves, it has an ability to be ignorant. So it's like, first, what are you not seeing? And then what is the world not seeing? And for me, this realm, if you try to grab onto knowledge too hard, you're gonna get startled and scared. So let me tell you why. Because it's a dynamic place and no noun. How can a noun save you? You see, for me, reality is pretty much like it's actually a very simple video game to be human. Okay, and I'm not explaining about conditions and circumstances and economies of scale and all that. I'm telling you, think of it this way. Ultimately, regardless of your conditioning, regardless of what others tell you, regardless of what you've told yourself, I firmly believe that there will come a moment where the soul will get bored and then it will get tired, right? And this life force that was like, I'm gonna run and be Superman and some champion of history, right, ends up realizing it's a certain energetic output. Okay, and the video game of life is simple because it's simply spectrums, right? Like the main geometry they used to like design this realm was of a dualistic nature, right? So if they're like, yo, man, how do you play the Earth video game, the human species video game? I'd be like, all right, this is what happens, right? So even there's a lot of unconscious stuff that the system does in raising you to be a human being, but at some point you can notice your individualism. You can notice that it's your reflection in the mirror. The reflection in the mirror is not a different entity, right? Like super young children and animals, sometimes they can't tell like if a reflection is them or not, right? It's like sometimes there's optical illusions of a lack of intelligence because it's a different entity, right? Like you cannot like, you know, you can expect a parrot to talk, like you can't expect an ant to talk, you know. So in this video game, level 1, you have the body to deal with. Level 1 of this Earth video game is being aware of existence. You have an existential position. The world is an existential position. You can move in reality. You can do various things. You can be fascinated by the outer world. behind the satisfactory walls of a content life. You know, it's like at some point you look at this world and you're like, how was it designed? It's designed to get beings capable of making decisions. This world is dualistic in nature because and every moment is understood conceptually and contextually. Understand this and you will learn everything in life quickly. Okay? Every concept, like if I tell you, like, let me see what's a good example. If I say believe in God, okay, that's a concept to you, even though it's not a fathomable concept. But if I tell you, hey man, you didn't create the body, you didn't create the world, we find ourselves in some world room, and does this world room have a system admin? And could it be that what the ancient vision of our species was pointing to was that humanity, do not get so fascinated and occupied by yourself. Do you know there will come a time in the lives of the wise that their dreams will become hollow? And there will come a time where I think it's an honesty. So first there's honesty of body, and then there's honesty of mind, and then there's honesty of soul. Sometimes to be honest with your soul means to, in some sense, discover your rank. The rank of your soul doesn't fit your mindset. Or your mindset is not the rank of your soul. Okay? That means intentionally the system admin has presented this simulation, and intentionally it is imperfect. You try to, and it's intentionally designed to be in the middle. That means neither too much chaos can win, suddenly good guys arise, and neither just too much goodness can arise, chaos arises. Do you understand? It's like there's a change. Right? There's this constant battle between forces of manifesting and movement. So it's kind of like the Earth video game. Your voice has, like you have the concept of a voice. Its context is in some sense speech, right? That means you can be. There's the silence. There is the noise. There is the movement. There is the stillness. There is existence, there is non-existence. The first thing you do to train your mind in this world really is to just notice the dualities. You know, that means that's one thing. Like I'm not a parent, but if they're like, okay, you got to raise the future generations, how would you do it? I would say that we have to make the future generations understand that their ego is a self-simulated meaning given to reality, and reality has always been more unknown than any knowledge system could hold. Do you understand? In the same way nobody can see the edge of the world, in the same way we cannot contain the edge of the world. That means in utter honesty, like, yes, we call ourselves humans. Yes, there has been cultures and ancient paths and journeys of our ancestors, but it, like, you know, I honor my ancestors, but I honor truth more. And truth is more the realization. Like, if you ask me, like, what's the most advanced thing a simulated being could do, right? I thought it was like trying to find truth as quickly as possible. But I have come to realize it is an inner shift of your being. You see, it's the meaning of what you see appearing as limited to you. It's like religion is for those souls that have truly understood that the body and mind have limitations. And then you have a crossroad of choosing the context is empty, which is an air, in my opinion, or you can choose the path of, okay, the ancients shouted that there's a system admin beyond conception, that our attention must constantly be on to the degree that first we know it's here, you know, through some sort of miracle proof, right? And then you start seeing that the system is not living in accordance to your karma. Karma is a very selfish idea. When somebody says, oh man, anybody who's ever said I'm lucky or unlucky, how selfish are you? That you think your mind can give the ultimate value to the moment. Do you understand? That means for me, what you're seeing in this channel is me having a relationship with the inconceivable, but through the conceptual domains of what you can consider one human's mind. That means if I was to give you a set, like if nobody's ever asked this of me, but sometimes I can fathom those questions. If somebody asked me, how do you view yourself in this simulated reality? How do you view your soul? By the way, guys, I noticed the question in the chat section. Amazing question. I will answer, but let me just pilot this moment. And okay. Moments have changed. Ladies and gentlemen, in no way fear human existence more than you. Anything that you fear, you need to immediately understand. There is courage of the nature of an inner realm, and there's the courage of an outer realm. That means I firmly believe someone can be very dishonorable in the outer realms, but in their own mind and inner realms have so much honor. But the whole point of it is, folks, just to give it to you straight, what's going on here. Every person we see, aside from language and their idea and their name and their story and their expression and personality, I just wanted to just see life a little simpler and be like, okay, they're a force. They are life force. Like, I can accept if somebody comes up and says, I'm life force right now, I'll be like, yeah, you are. You're a force moving in life. So if you look at everything, not like Neo, yo man, I'm seeing syntax. It's like, relax, dude. You know? You look at this world and ultimately you just start from the context like, let me just entertain. Let me just think it was an empty, flat place. Okay? And imagine right now, Galileo hadn't given us the luxury, and right now imagine we thought the earth was flat. There is no solution to a gigantic event that is happening on such a scale that what the human species identifies as knowledge is a very limited percentage of it and a limited interpretation of it. Okay? And human beings, we have reached an era where we had to go search for meaning, and now everybody, why has enlightenment become fascinating for the modern age? Because people are like, I'm busy, man. I just want to get enlightened quick, you know? I got, you know, and I got, you know, just a little bit of time to listen to a lecture and get enlightened and go about my... Let me tell you, there is no enlightenment like that. It's all about understanding the system that was here before you and wondering about everything about it. It's intelligent levels, what it is. So somebody in the chat section's like, yo, so what is the system admin's aim? What does this being want from humans? This has been a very deep question, and because I'm Muslim, I will give you an answer. I will just give you my honest view. Okay, so think of it this way. No human being can conceptualize a system admin. I use the word that there is a system admin beyond the world. When you hear that, okay, you cannot fathom the system admin because it is not limited to where we have generated our definitions from. So when I say system power, system admin, you shouldn't just think of like try to conceptualize an image to it. You should think it's the system administrative power. That means how events happen on Earth are not just because somebody wanted them to. It is not just people consciousness here. It is not just human consciousness. It's the discovery that the original position, the original state of being is beyond the world. This world, to humans born in it, they call it natural, but to the soul is an unnatural place. To everybody's soul. I 100%, like, I don't know, I'll make, like, I feel like everybody knows that we are somewhere, but this is not where we're from. Because the way human intelligence moves is so different from everything else on this planet, it's a little weird. It's a little weird how much more different we are from other species. So you gotta realize, okay, the human species, so you're asking me what is the system, what's the system admin's aim? What is the system, what does this being want from humans? This theological question, the answer is that the system admin does not need anything. The system admin, perhaps beyond our understanding and our logic, okay, beyond human logic, there's God's logic, but God's logic is God's command, because God is all-knowing. Right now, we are not all-knowing beings, okay? But I'm saying the clue is you have a species that is way more advanced than any other species on the planet. This species has a mouth, like nature is designed for it. Like even if you don't believe in God, like isn't it weird that creatures have mouths and ears and they have lungs and stomachs and different breathing techniques, right? So when you look at the human design, it's too designed. You're like, that's a clue that, you know, that's a little weird. You know, everything's too designed here. It's like too ingeniously designed. Like, you know, I thought surgeons were psychopaths. And then I realized, no, they're like fascinated by the genius of the human body, how it even works, how it even is something. Do you understand? God doesn't need man. God has, man needs God, okay? And this is the answer that this is the religious answer. And you know why? Because God is a completed being. A completed being doesn't need anything. It's a being that it is everything. It is omniscient, all-powerful. Can you even imagine all power? Like billionaires maybe can imagine, like, you know, like controlling a civilization, but they can't imagine controlling all that exists at once. That is a might and power that is beyond human fathoming. And there's our species has a relationship with an unknown power. So for me, I could be like, yeah, I'm like a human being. I just see things in human language and human reality, in the human verse, or instead of the human verse, I ask myself, is human consciousness a state of mind? That means existence exists, and it doesn't matter if it's still or it moves, it just is. But what is it being to? And it's you, you know? Like, let me tell you the fastest way you can experience the divine and notice divinity. I want you to look around you, whether you're alone or with others. If you're with others, this example might not be that effective, but let's assume you're alone and you're listening to this lecture. I want you to just look at your space and see how lifeless everything is. How lifeless the table is. How lifeless the chair is. How lifeless the floor is. How lifeless the wall is. And then I want you to ask yourself, what is the life in this room? What is the life of your moment? And you will be astonished to realize that you have been an awareness that is being. Your body is found within this awareness. Every idea and everything else is found within this awareness. Think of it this way. If you hear like the word Muslim, it's like a human soul that has realized. In the Holy Quran it says something. I'm a visual learner, so I could tell you the vision of it. That man, the human soul, the human being here is a Khalifa, which means an ambassador of the system admin. So you're like, what does the system admin want? Yet you are one of the rare beings in existence on earth that can even notice this. And people are like, what do you mean faith? And I'll be like, the examples are there. Everything is done through faith because it's an unknown world. You have faith and knowledge now. Everybody is in knowledge land. Okay, the unknown is right out the door of knowledge land. Okay, so somebody in the chat section says, how can you call God itself from those who pose as gods? Actually, I'll read the whole thing. It says, I don't know if what you call system admin is actually just a non-encompassing demiurge power, hence my question. How can you call God itself from those who pose as God? I grew up Muslim, so I get your perspective, but I left that tradition after a deep conversion once upon a time. How can you tell the actual God or sysadmin from other powers? Okay, I see what it is. I see what you're asking. Okay, so I went on this, I'm answering your question here. Okay, that's a great question. So I went after trying to know this, what was the soul, okay? And then I reached a point where I realized spirituality was like the last refuge of the ego. And you just this is how you know you're in the presence of the higher power. You first understand that you're a limited being. Okay, you have a certain limit on what you can comprehend and understand. And two, the higher power is the original being. So the higher power is not in existence. So we cannot, you're asking me inside a simulation, how can you tell what is the divine? What is the system admin? My whole thing, I'm telling you, the clue that is given is that it is beyond condition. All of God in Islam has 99 attributes, like all-powerful, all-merciful, all-wise, and these are like infinite values. And when you think about it, God, whether you think of it as a being or even on an idea, it is pointing your attention to the ultimate. Do you understand the word ultimate? So an ultimate being surpasses all archetypes. An ultimate being is such an ultimate being that existence, everything that has been existence commanded by this higher being into position knows the system admin. Religion is not saying you started from the bottom and you're ascending to the top. Religion is saying you were at the top, but then you descended. And now the species is ascending. But what is this ascension? This ascension is a waking up to the realization of not just the limits of body and mind, but in reality, the limits of free will. When you discover freedom has limitations, at some point you cannot ignore the chaos of other worlds. I am telling you, world is a system, God is a system admin, angels and shaitan are mods. Okay? And there's so many secret lives, that means there's so many ways. Just even think about it, right? It's like, imagine not just you asking me that question. Imagine 8 billion people were like, yo, podcaster, how can we tell if something is God or not? I'll be like, you all have different DNA. You all have different contexts on reality, but one attribute to it that I discovered was purity and honesty. That means you got to start living like an original being. And strangely, the original beings didn't have egos. I'll say it this way. It's not that I see God. I am in no way saying I am like seeing God in this system, okay? I can see the divine system administration of it sometimes. I can see that what keeps meaning in the simulation is not just human beings. That means the human body, we're all like, yo, there's been no extraterrestrial contact or higher world contact, but in the inner realms, no. The mind is living a different life than the body, and the mind gives an ability for the soul to live ahead of its body. Okay? And what thinking has been just the comparison of information. You know, to me, thinking, anytime I like try to think about something deeply, I feel like an eagle that's flew from a branch and more sees more trees, sees so many more realities. To me, God is an ultimate attribute to reality simply because it is incomprehensible. So as a human being, I do not know what God is to tell you that this is God or that is not God. But I know there is a way you can look at this world and completely realize that you are a guest in another being's world, yo. That being is beyond this world room, but in the world room, the system is like there's divine management. Now, how complex this divine management is, I don't know. That means divinity is easy to point out. The divine, what truth is. Do you understand? We're simulated beings. Truth cannot be like a simulated condition. Pretty much Islam's like, hey, human soul, like in this world, you're in a simulation, yo. And you're also inside a divine surveillance state. You are also in the presence of the ultimate being. And when you truly in prayer, I've experienced this, when I just put away my ego, put away my identity, it's like, they're like, what is prayer like? Prayer is like, for a moment, you pause the simulation and you just honor the system admin and request from the system admin to, in some sense, assist you. So, yeah, religion is kind of like God is watching its creation. The system admin is testing to see if the users believe moderators are the system admin, believe the world is the system admin, or if they believe they are the system admin, which are all wrong answers. And I believe we are being tested on what the soul notices through the simulation of the body and the opportunity of the simulation of the mind. Because we like, what does it mean to honor our ancestors? Are we just honoring their bodies? Or are we honoring how vision has evolved throughout time? If they're like someone's like Mr.Within, what's better than your talk, Mr.Within talk? I'd be like discussion centers all over the planet, you know, conversation centers, you know. I wish to see that day where throughout the day you're just a human on Earth, but in the evening you're wondering about what your species is and means to you. Maybe you have not had, like they're like, yo man, are you pioneering this? I'm like, yo man, this is an early bird moment. I am telling you that in the future humans will live in such advanced ways that we cannot imagine. And we know they will exist, just like they couldn't imagine cell phones back in the day, but they could imagine like fire, you know, a fireplace. So I'm telling you, it's like the world is being ushered by a power beyond us. Everybody, sure, we identify with their known name, but we're all unknown beings. And pretty much from the beginning of this lifetime, there's really been, like in a strange way, two ways to look at it, at least, as long as in the domain of the philosophy of language, okay, two ways of looking at it. Either it's all true or it's all false. I think the human species it has that algorithm, right? And I am very picky, okay? But I've discovered the system admin not in the sense that I discovered the system admin in a moment where my ego had acted like my friend all these years, but I realized I am destroying myself. Why? Are humans just fuel for the advanced civilization? Never. We were too advanced to be ignorant. I don't know how or why, but every time I come to talk about reality, it's like my mind has seen the advanced humanity. It has seen the advancement that will come. And the advancement is all the things we didn't see while we were here that they will see. It's fascinating. God is not a concept. God is a position of absolute being. And that position, the most advanced being, is beyond this world. We all understand this. Like if they were like, yo, what's your most advanced self? I'll be like, it's a self that moves at the speed of light, but after it moves faster than the speed of light, what is it then? It's conditions. We are conscious, we are unknown consciousness of the human condition. That means our souls are not convinced this world is their home. So what does a religious soul do? There's a clue given in religion, okay? And the clue is that God created man by commanding him into existence. And then God commanded the human being to say the divine names. We performed in the presence of all manifestation before. That means they're like, yo, as a Muslim man, you know, what's your solar ancestor? I'll be like Adam, right? Prophet Adam, alayhi salam, peace be upon him, right? The first soul, right? And the first soul was commanded to perform and say the divine names in reality to all manifestation and all manifestation bound. To not us, to what had created us. We were an attribute of the Creator because the Creator created the soul of man. But the soul of man Listen to a simulated, that's the clue, simulated serpent, and now all the descendants of Adam. Adam's soul are like in a simulation. So to me, I think the way out of this simulation is if you believe in a soul, it is to discover how your soul was commanded. It is the nostalgia of an original power, and it's not like something. It's like they're like, yo, what are Mr. Within's recent talks about? He's trying to explain to humanity that all reality is powered by something, and there's a power, and more than I think there's luck or karma and all of this. I believe that reality has been commanded. And you're going to be like, what? One attribute of the system admin we know is that it was a being that could command. Okay? And it is also all-knowing. God is by definition of God's names the divine commander. And when I say command, you're like, what is that? Okay, here's the way I'll explain it to you. Imagine you put a VR virtual reality headset on, right? And imagine it was like, like a cyclist helmet, but it was also like, connected to the greatest oxygen system or something, People oxygenate themselves while playing virtual reality on next level level. But anyways, imagine a virtual reality where you were a being in this virtual reality that by your mere command, anything would come into existence. That means you didn't have to work. Imagine you commanded and you're like, I command that you don't even need to say it. It's just, I think the mere intent is the command. So I'm saying a commanded universe means that the universe is happening not in accordance to human ideas. And beyond human ideas, it could be happening in accordance to infinite ideas, like different ideas there are out there, but it's not happening in accordance to any idea. It is happening through the greater knowing of a higher being. That means in no way human beings can ever fathom it. So I'm saying you cannot see, I don't want to say you cannot see God, because from one angle the human being can't, but from another angle God can will anything. God can will an individual on the earth to in some sense be its messenger. God can do anything, but even though after Islam there's no need for messenger archetypes, because the Prophet of Islam pointed to, truth is beyond conception. Done. No concept, no form or shape. It is beyond shape. Okay, and you're like, how do I see the system? You can't see the system. Okay, I'll say it this way. In Islam, these have terms which I don't remember exactly to say. But there's like 3 levels when you become God conscious. Okay, so let's say being God conscious, there's levels to it. The simplest level is like, there's a God? Oh, no way. That's like the simplest level of being God conscious. Okay, you're conscious of the idea. Then there is like you being like, okay, I'm this soul in an unknown world, and how is this world happening? And this Mr. Within guy is saying like there's a system admin to it. The system admin is so beyond us that we cannot fathom a condition to it. But it seems that the will of how conditions happen on earth goes in accordance to a wiser awareness. That means how moments take place. It's like moments are not just occurring based on human values. So I think part of being God conscious is accepting the unknown. Most people fear it. They fear the unknown. Because if it comes too spontaneously, they don't know who they are or what they are. But the unknown is an opportunity to realize who knows what. It's incredible. They're like, yo, man, how did you become confident? And they're like, yeah, easy, man. I just realized the species was telling itself a story and the story could never replace the actual truth of reality. And the actual truth of reality is you have a heart and you have been a decent natured being in this life in at least even more than one moment, and and kind of getting close to God. The three levels were: one, you know God, then you know there, like you know you are absolute, you are 100% know because it's like some miracle proves it to you. Do you know some the miraculous nature of a moment proves it to you, right? And then I'm trying to tell you the second level was I'm not assuming I am these. I'm just explaining them to you. The second level is actually, it's not that you just know that it has a system admin. Every day, every moment, you stop asking others questions and you begin everything. So let's say tomorrow you gotta walk to somewhere. On that walk, for a moment, be like, okay, let me assume that I have only myself to rely on. A question every person should ask is like, how smart am I really? How and they realize them being smart has to do with how aware they are. That means wonder about your awareness. Islam is to me a higher. It's a technology of a higher command. Divinity is a commanded realm. Divinity doesn't have the luxury of free will in the way we do. But it's important to notice that truth is not a condition. If a condition is your truth, then you're gonna be in conditional truth. That means let's assume a reality where everybody after this life went to their truth. Now, what would your truth be? Do you understand? Imagine somebody's truth is like, yo, man, I want to be in an eternal nightclub or something. Do you know? Like, that's imagine somebody's truth. But, and after this life, whatever they envisioned the future, that's where they would go. Imagine, this is such an epic thing, you know? This kind of stuff's in my sci-fi, by the way. The viewers don't know. Like, imagine all the talks I've given. Imagine this whole time I've been creating, I guess, aspects of a sci-fi universe, and I have not found a way to share them online yet. Like, I haven't had that calling yet, you know. But I think it's gonna happen soon. See, guys, I'm telling you, if you believe you know what it is, that's ignorance. It's not like I'm not here assuming I know it, but when I pray, I am in the presence of a being that is, its attributes are infinite. So being Muslim is like, yo, the world has an owner, and the owner is aware. For me, something that was very fascinating, I'm like, I could live whatever kind of life on this planet, but whose view is gonna give what happened meaning? That means imagine you brought a child, you brought someone middle-aged, and you brought an old person, right? And you're like, yo, and you showed them, like, let's say there was an event that happened, and you asked them, what did it mean to you? And the child's like, I like the music and dancing, you know? The middle-aged person is like, I like the sophistication of the characters in that, let's say, theater play or whatever, in that play or performance, right? And imagine there's the old person is like, you know, this gives me hope that the future generations are going to achieve impossible things. And I'm like, yo, so many different ways to give something meaning. And I could live whatever kind of life, and at the end, God judges me, not I judge myself. This world gives you an opportunity where how you're aware of yourself can either be like limiting or it can be limitless. I live in a world that has an admin. Do you know what that means? That means in any moment there is anything that happens, I acknowledge that it's not just humans watching. It's not just like squirrels and birds and other species watching. The creator of the world is watching the world it has created to see if its creation remembers the original command of its soul. Because the whole point of religion is that, are you worthy or not? To me, there is a higher power here. No way, shape, or form I'm convinced humans are like an ultimate. Human is a system, it's a language. Like I could see all of civilization being like all languages combined, behavioral, linguistic. To be honest, the way to connect to God is you must pray. You must be fascinated. I became Muslim not out of somebody telling me to be. I became Muslim because how reality happened was fascinating, and I was like, there is a system admin, I must connect to it. And my prayers became sincere, intense, where I was in the presence of the higher power. And you know how I knew I was in the presence of the divine? My ego, everything felt shame. I felt ashamed of my existence because there was such a superior. It's like feeling the presence. That means we're like, it's like you could stare at an ant, but does the ant know who you are? No. But it can, like, a being can feel like it's being watched. I 100% believe that sight is like a ray of attention. I believe like it's like not like Cyclops from the X-Men, but I believe like if you put someone somewhere and you tell like 3 people to like one by one like stare at them, that person can tell, like suddenly they can tell whether someone's staring at them or not, right? It's like the moment feels different because I think we have electromagnetic fields that are vast. Do you understand? That means our presence is unknown. That means like everybody, everything they're saying, it's the story of this time. We are becoming, I guess, conscious that our minds function in a realm where time is an attribute, but our bodies are in the presence of existence as raw force. And when I see human beings, like I used to be like, yo man, that person has so much energy, but no. Now it's that what spirit, which is the activity of the mind, from old school view of it, right, is animating in the moment. That means anything that happens, it's as if what is the meaning structure behind it, but the meaning structure is obviously unknown. To me, humans are like beings that harbor hidden lives, and those hidden lives are deciding what happens to their outer lives. I think the way of it, there's 2 ways, either conceptually or contextually. You have to, I wonder about where you are, and for me, in a powerless moment, I bowed. I consciously bowed. I didn't do it like a robot or like, oh, I should bow now. No. It was legit. I am in the presence of the system admin of reality, the highest power, the unmistaken, the unfathomable, the being that its power is the cause of all manifestation and the first domino of the infinite regress fallacy. If we are on some level in a very advanced place, in the presence of very advanced intelligence, as someone who was just like shouting at my species, advanced civilization, because we can see it, because we have envisioned, the idea is out there, there's a human soul shouting advanced civilization, right? And now we're gonna see if that effect is gonna take place. Now we're gonna see if one human soul comes and says, hey humanity, build an advanced civilization for the royalty of reality. The crown is on the head of the future generations, but the crown of existence belongs to the unfathomable and the beyond. There are, like, to me, it's like when they said a staircase to heaven, that meant as from the moment you are conscious What path do you have to the original life as a simulator while you're in your simulated life? It's a very advanced scenario on Earth. You either look at it and you're like, meh, and those beings are lost souls, or you look at it and you're like, wait a minute, it used to be meh, but now I am seeing every possible way something can be seen by knowing it exists in on the unknown. That means if somebody was like, if I was to just go and make an omelet, right? There's someone in Japan making the most complex omelet in the most advanced way than me. So it's like realizing there are so many ways to look at the moment, and what life is this place where this force is moving, and because it's uncomfortable with how meaningless things are, it's freaked out about it. It's like it doesn't know where it is. It had to lie to itself. We have to be proud of the lie our ancestors told themselves and the simulation that we're all living in. Why? Because it was the best they could do. They were freaking out and they're like, all right, man, we're a bunch of beings that were just shouting at each other. Now your name's going to be this and your name's going to be that. People started having names and started communicating. And of course, meaning is way more ancient than language. But when language came about, it took some time for words to develop meaning. Sounds had meaning way more prior to words having meaning. Do you understand? Like a lion roared and all the animals run. Sound had a meaning. They're like, yo, man, is that cheetah communicating to that gazelle that's running away from it? We're like, yeah, they're speaking the behavioral language of like, oh my God, food chain, animal food chain, you know? Somebody in the chat section said a very deep sentence. What if creator and creation are one and separation is an illusion? I think that the moment you equate creator and creation, there is no creator and creation. So it's a fallacy. I think it's a fallacy. To me, the biggest wake-up call was realizing that the ego's last refuge is to convince you that you're God. You are not God. You are in the presence of a system admin beyond any human mind's ability to imagine. You get to see the system. So first knowing, then you in some sense live it, and then you become it. But that becoming part is the system admin's will. So as far as I am concerned, and because I am human, I am not God. Because I am simulated, I have a simulated biological body, I am not God. Just because I have an awareness to the objective reality and subjective reality, outer and inner realm at the same time, doesn't mean I'm God. God is the most advanced archetype in all dimensions, and that most advanced, if there's a being that is that advanced, its next thing is beyond reality. So God is the ultimate power. That means no power can contrast this power. So more than we're in a world where it's empty and everybody's giving it meaning, I am telling you, hey, it's legit. Like, you have corporate culture and you have species divine culture. I don't know how to explain it to you. There is a superiority to reality that is just the value of the inconceivable. The point of God being unfathomable is so you don't worship the fathomable, and worship means you attach your soul to. You connect. The ego is imperfect. There's a passage in the Holy Quran that was so next level, where as a visual learner, I could tell you the image where it was like, even if human beings all started to act perfectly like angels, God would wipe them out, make them go extinct, and bring another generation of sinners. Now, this doesn't authorize sin, but this means that intentionally, this is neither a beastly hell and it's neither an angelic heaven, but it's in between. Somebody in the chat section says information technology is the only power. Like, I understand that, man, but I think an android would appreciate that sentence way more than me. Humans are dealing with the higher divine agent. So humans are those creatures in the cosmos that are capable, out of all the creatures on their planet, to notice and have a relationship with the governing intelligence of being. To me, it's worship is a universe. There's different types of worship. There's worship like somebody who, you ask them, are you religious? They're like, no. But when they see, for example, the Holy Quran, they always place it correctly and they don't put anything on it, right? You understand? Like, that's a type of praise. What the whole point of it is, you're this simulated being. There's an original creator that is testing you, and you're here wondering what sort of relationship to establish. For me, it's like, imagine a power that can command anything into existence and has destined everything and knows everything. My relationship with the system admin was just, I knew my prayers. I just prayed for the most advanced life. Until the end of my life, I will be seeing what the system admin shows me in this reality. And maybe the most advanced life is not possible. But either way, because I care for how I am a design of the system admin, I am created by the system admin, because I honor the higher power that created me, that I can be conscious of, I have to, in some sense, honor my system admin's creation. That means they're like, Mr. Within, how do you love the human species? I'm like, even if I hate people, my ego is smart enough to realize a higher power when it sees one. It's when faith is the only option, because the mind can generate infinite viewpoints to reality. Like legit, like how we can type in ChatGPT, give me a view on reality. It can give infinite views on reality. The point is not just, it's like you've been given a view. What do you do with this vision? What do you do with the awareness that is your reality? Wonder about the bigger picture, and the smaller findings become unnecessary. Your task in this world is to wonder about how aware you are of it, and what are you going to do with what you're aware of. And in my understanding, the ego is an imperfect technology. That means it's another way, like this statement I find 100% to be true. Like this is what this statement holds, what convinced me to become Muslim, that if man wants to give himself or others something, it's imaginable. It's in the domain of like conditions. It's in the conditional domain. But when God wants to give you something, when you request something from a power that is aware of all being, when God gives you something, it is perfect. And it's like this shift in modality that everything is praising its awareness to all that is here. To be alive is an act of praise. To be conscious, like you're telling me you don't appreciate how you're existing as a being in the world right now? Everybody appreciates it. We take it for granted because we want to exist as a certain idea with a certain feeling to it, But in reality, it is deeper. It has a system admin. Get to know the system admin. The system admin in Islam is saying bypass the mods, bypass anything that's conditional, and just pray to that which is beyond conditions. That means if you want to, like there's the concept of unconditional love, well, guess what? There's an unconditional truth, and that is the higher reality. And the lower reality and the lower power is that we're limited by our conditions. The higher power is limitless by its power. For me, it's fascinating. They're like, what's cooler than science fiction? Divinity. I love science fiction though. Like, that's how I know, like, I've found like a soulmate where like their mind also lives in the future. Because the outer realms is limited, but the mind, even though it's limited too in regards to actually experiencing it, but just to fathom and discover the different ways that moments can have value and how it will go down, because how history will go down, because that's really you know, what everybody's looking forward to in regards to the arrival of the most advanced humanity. That means my prayer has been, God, let us see how advanced we were as a species before our extinction. Let us see how incredible we can be. You see, you are not on the same level as God, but you are in a simulated, created level of God. And God, I am not a yogi. I am neither a polytheist and I am neither a non-dualist. I used to be. But after 2023, I'm like, no. The system admins confirmed to me. I know. It has a system admin, and I know that system administrative power is beyond the condition of any form. The higher truths are truths that are beyond letters and form. And if you're like, yo, what does that mean? Does that mean you're actually like praising a quality of how beyond, how possible the beyond can be? And I'll be like, we didn't create this. We created human meaning or our own meaning, but we did not create the world. We are not in our own world. But anyways, guys, the mystery goes deeper and wonder about it. And somebody in the chat section is like, non-dualism is legit though. Yeah, I used to think that, man. I don't have that view. To me, a living system administrative force is real. Do you know what it is? Non-duality would have been okay if I hadn't noticed the system. Do you understand? Because non-duality is still something for the self. Being religious is not about yourself anymore. It's about realizing you're not the main character force. The system admin is. But we are characters that have a role to play in existence. And for me, like, my days are as fascinating as I notice the system administrative force. You know, I'm a type of person who, I don't know, sometimes I wonder, am I gentle in a chaotic world, or am I chaotic in a gentle world, you know? And it's beyond dualism, it's just beyond. Do you know what that means? That means I think the wisest view is that we know less than what is. So we can all relax and start getting content with the unknown. No. There's somebody says, did you notice the systems admin or a system admin? I believe there is one system admin, and there is moderators. There's only one system admin. There is not even different ways of that system admin. I'm saying it's a singular. It's a singularity. It's like an original point. That means I just discovered a power. I did not see something. I just had a feeling that I was within the attention of a power so beyond me that my ego felt ashamed, collapsed in shame. And I was just breaking down in tears and realizing that I had lived the limit, like everything that in my youth I was like, why is it happening this way? I suddenly understood. I was being tested to see if my own will convinces me to never wonder about the looping reality I find myself in. There is a system admin here. It is a simulation, but there is way more than this. I'm just trying to tell you, hey, it was unknown first, and then we got to know it, and now we're consciously realizing it's unknown again. It's an incredible moment to be alive in history. Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful.